Well, if you're into Bruce Lee, we've got a very special show coming up. We got Felix Macias Jr. or Felix Macias Jr., the son of Felix Macias Sr., and these guys are the Sifus of the original Oakland JKD school, and that's exactly what they teach, original Oakland JKD. And we're going to have a talk about that particular system of Jeet Kune Do, founded and created by Bruce Lee. And, well, it's going to be fun and exciting. I'm always up for learning new things about Bruce Lee's past and history. So everybody just stay tuned. And remember that you have just entered the Mavericks Dojo. What system of Jeet Kune Do is it that you guys learned? Was it Oakland, or what is the difference?
Oh, the style of Jeet Kune Do we do, yes, the original Oakland JKD. That's the one we're continue to use to this day.
Why is it considered Oakland?
Well, that's the birthplace, Jimmy and Bruce. That's where it all began. My father was a student there many years back with Jimmy Lee back in the day, and then there was talk about a guy named Bruce coming along. I think that was about a year later. My father started off with Jimmy and with James and Alan Novak. And, Jimmy and Bruce got together, started trading hands, and one thing led to another, and became the birth of Jeet Kune Do.
That's pretty cool, man. You knew Bruce Lee when you were a little kid.
Oh, yeah, I used to see him all the time. My father would take us down to James Lee's house, mainly on the weekends. He'd work out over there during the week, evenings, 2 to 3 days a week, sometimes 4, and, he took us down to go see Bruce Lee. Back then, we didn't know who Bruce Lee was, so he took us down to see Kato. We knew who Kato was, we were kids.
Wow. Did your father get along pretty good with Bruce?
Oh, yeah, he got along good with him. He said he was a nice guy. He said he was extremely fast, really quick. Everything he did was just in a blink of an eye,
At what age did your father start you in the training?
Oh, boy, he started there probably, he must have been in his 30s, I want to say, because he's about 78 right now, and I'm about 57, so yeah, he probably was way back then, early 60s, had been right around 30s. The way we do things here in Oakland's, it's a little different from the LA group, the concept groups, and the Jun Fan groups. First of all, I can tell a lot of people, the Jun Fan deal was that was Bruce Lee's name, and the concept groups were like a spin-off to what everybody else was doing, add, subtract, and maybe add a little bit too much sometimes. But over here in Oakland, they just stayed with the tradition, stayed with what was original. Everything's close here. System's much different. It's much more internal, along with the air palm and the herbs and everything else that we study. People misinterpret one as punch. A lot of people use it, but they don't use it properly. It's to a lot of people, it's like a show punch. Something he did in demonstrations. But in close fighting, even a lot of the Wing Chun guys will tell you that the 1-inch strikes they're very valuable, especially when your opponent's right on you. You have very little room, and you need to punch short. Yeah, so we use those, and they're used a lot here.
So you're saying that they are practical in a fight. You can actually use them and apply them in a real situation.
Oh, yeah, some of the boys have, yeah. I don't teach, I try not to teach, what do you call it, theatrics.
Uh-huh.
My job is to instruct the guys here and make sure that they can defend themselves. And, so far, so good. They've been doing a good job of doing it. Well, they were busy for him, I guess. He did a lot of training with Bruce and Jimmy. He took us, On the weekends, me and my brother, we were young. But he got a lot of training from these guys, from Jimmy and Bruce, and they learned all the internal stuff, close fighting, and being a kid, I can only recollect so much. But, well, as far as I'm concerned, Oakland did it, They had they were closely related to the Chinese Kung Fu. They never really got off the track like a lot of other guys did.
In your opinion, at what skill level do you think Bruce Lee was at? I mean, how good was he really?
My father said he was just playing outright a pretty bad guy. He was fast. He said, watching him in a demonstration over there at Jimmy's, he was one of the few guys that actually got to stay there and watch the behind the scenes demo with Bruce and Jimmy. He said Bruce was faster than hell. He said, people just don't realize he was a gifted athlete, and by being a gifted athlete, that makes you much more powerful. He just had it. He was born to do this. It wasn't like he really had to go out of his way to train super hard. He just had it in him. Like a star athlete, like a football player, basketball player. Some guys are just playing outright, natural. That's just what he was. He was a gifted, natural athlete.
Wow. Where is your school located?
Oh, I live and teach out of my home here in Hayward, California. The beginners usually start off slower. They fight mainly outside, and then as they get a little better, they start to get close the gap. Then when they're really comfortable, they fight inside. And as far as the conditioning, the iron palm and working on the forearms and using the mock jongs, that comes in hand with whatever they can handle. It's kind of like, if I see they can do it, well, I'm going to put them in there a little bit faster. If not, we'll take our time doing it.
You guys have a lot of boxing and stuff integrated into it?
Yeah, we have some boxing. I don't separate the boxing with the Kung Fu either. We're kind of like integrated. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be like that. A lot of people, they put a lot of Thai stuff, or they use a lot of sabat or ground fighting. But everything's usually it's not fitted in properly. It's usually it's done numbered like 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. In other words, it should be more of a blend, and a lot of it ain't.
Yeah.
Like I don't really like that word concept. It's like an idea. To me, it's like a concept is kind of like you draw something up, and it's considered a concept, an idea. It might work.
Yeah.
Him and Jimmy worked into doing things that might work. They did things that worked. His integration was a lot of the Chinese Kung Fu arts. A lot of people don't realize he had studied a little while with Jun Fu Mark. He was a praying mantis guy out there in New York, back in the early 60s. Studied with Jimmy Lee, learned the iron palm, learned the conditioning, studied with Al Novak. They did some of the Silom Kung Fu together. They did a lot of the Chinese arts.
Wow.
And, that's mainly what Oakland was all about. It didn't really leave tradition, didn't have to.